A lot of times with abstract art or art in general, it's like, it's for the viewer to get something from it. So for me to tell you like, this is that, then it's like, you know, you automatically, you're stuck because now you're trying to see what I said in that piece. So I want people to see what they see and walk away with a feeling, whatever feeling they get from seeing the piece. My name is Jahmane. I'm a visual artist, muralist, designer. So the piece over there is called the Space Particle Pillar. It's from a collection that I have called Space Particles, and it's meant to be a really high energetic, graffiti, abstract inspired collection that's really designed to be, really, powerful shapes, sort of bursts of color. It's me going into my abstract bag. That particular concept has been developing for years, actually. I mean, as a graffiti writer, I've always worked with letters and different representational things, characters, letters, things like that. But I've always looked to stretch out my styles and stretch out different pieces that I was working on. So, being influenced by abstract art and cubism and things of that nature, I started to develop a particular style that was less legible, as far as like taking letters and stretching them out and almost turning them more into abstract symbols, and then using colors to accent the actual piece. So out of that, I started developing what I call space particles. So it was more like a representation of a letter or a word, but it was really non-legible, and it was a lot more energetic, I thought. A lot of times colors call me, like even before I start sketching pieces. With abstract art, I always have this concept of like capturing abstraction. Abstraction is supposed to be like free flowing, but for you to actually create it almost implies that you have a hand in creating something that should be non-created per se, or non-thought of. So going into your abstract, thought process, you want it to flow. So I try to do the same thing with colors. Like as I'm creating certain shapes, or like a lot of times I'll use collage. I'll take pieces of paper and I'll rip them apart and just sort of throw them down and see what forms and what shapes they create, and almost let it happen naturally. And then I'll use like colors of colored sheets of paper, and then do that same thing. So the colors themselves will almost create the piece, as opposed to me creating the piece. Ideally, I want them to feel like a burst of energy, and I want them to be drawn in. A lot of the layers and a lot of the the colors and the jazz, I call it, throwing the jazz and unplanned strokes and color forms are designed to make people look even deeper into the piece and try to make sense of it. Because even while I was painting it, I have a lot of people come by and be like, oh, that looks like this or that looks like that, and then ask me, what is that? And my thing to them is like, well, what do you see? You know what I'm saying? Public art is important, especially to me, and especially now because it's so accepted. People are looking for public art. And as a person that came from doing public art that wasn't legal, and now it being legal, it's a different connection with people. I think people are more accepting of public art and people putting their ideas in public. So it's important now because it gives artists a different range of language and communication, and it allows the artist to connect directly with the people and with a new audience. A lot of times it may be an audience that would have never seen that artist's work, if it was only in the gallery or in certain places. So now that it's being put in public, you have a much wider audience and you can connect with a lot more people. So I think that's very important. The ideal downtown, I would still say one that is inviting to all people, and one that attracts people that may not have thought about coming to that downtown or coming to that city before. I travel a lot, so a lot of times I go to a city and I just want to see what's going on. I want to get the vibe and the feel of the city. And a lot of times the art and the stores, the restaurants, that plays into, the feeling that you get from a city. So I think, the ideal downtown definitely is one that attracts people, and it makes people feel comfortable, makes people want to stay, spend money, support the businesses, and, appreciate the city as a whole.